And I think you'd be great in that position to be a check and a balance on Nancy Pelosi and what it is the Democrats want to do. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. And Sean, you're exactly right. Everywhere the president went, it made a huge difference. Florida, we now have a Freedom Caucus member who's going to be governor of one of our largest states when he went to Indiana for Senator Braun, soon to be Senator Braun. And then, of course, in Missouri, where it was just tremendous. Josh Hawley. Yeah, every place he went made a huge difference.
Well, it was that. It was also Tennessee. And, you know, poor Ted Cruz. I mean, I've never seen one candidate in a Senate race ever had close to $100 million thrown at them. And it was a war down there in Texas. And literally, Ted Cruz pulled it off in a pretty magnificent way for him.
Sure did.
And yeah, I mean, and much to his credit, right now, Martha McSally up in Arizona, that would be an extra seat. Yep. Rick Scott was a big win. Heidi Heitkamp losing. John Tester hanging on by the skin of his teeth, as I think still the final tally is being put up there, but he's ahead by a very tiny amount. The problem is the president went in after half the votes in the state had been done, and literally the Libertarian got out too late, and that was the difference. That would have been the difference, which I was warning the people of Indiana about.
Yeah. Sean, here's the other place he made a big difference. Our state, Ohio. He came in on Monday. The conventional wisdom was our governor candidate, Mike DeWine, was in a tight race and likely to lose. The polls had him slightly behind, but we won every statewide election. We kept every Republican member of the congressional delegation. We only lost one statewide election, and that was Jim Renacci, who was running against Sherrod Brown, and yet Congressman Renacci ran close to Sherrod Brown. That is the president's involvement as well in our state, so it made a big difference to have the president there on Monday and now have Mike DeWine going to be our next governor.
And he was not the most charismatic guy. I put him on TV one night. I mean, he's a nice man. I'm sure he's going to do a great job as Ohio governor.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
But he needs a little 101 in Jim Jordan campaign style. Roll up those sleeves and get out there and get a little more passionate. I asked him a question. I think he gave me a 3-word answer. I was like, "Oh no, we're in trouble. This is not good."
But he's a hard worker, and the president's speech there in Cleveland on Monday afternoon was just tremendous. Huge crowds like he always gets, and it made a big difference. And we had strong margins across the board in our congressional delegation races. So yeah, the president, I think it was a good day for him in many regards. Unfortunately, we didn't keep the House. But we got to get back to work and make sure we get back
if they continue with what they are going to, what we expect that they're going to do, which is endless investigations, the president's tax returns, everybody in their media, well, what about your tax returns? We're going to be subpoenaed. And the president said, well, we can play this game too, because you have the Senate and he has the executive power also available to begin multiple investigations on that side. I hope the better angels on the Democratic side, although I wouldn't expect it. I mean, Maxine Waters promised revenge. She said, we're going to do to you what you did to us. She's going to be head of the House Financial Services Committee. That would be Wall Street. And then we also have, the biggest liar in the entire Congress, Adam Schiff. He's out there saying the same thing. We're going to go back to a real Russia investigation. I'm like, okay, Robert Mueller's finishing up his job. Now he wants to go back there. My question is, will the House investigations being stopped by January, will that be the end of the deep state investigation? Does that mean some people go away scot-free, or are all the documents available that they can be released before that?
We hope we get them all before then, and obviously the Democrats have been trying to, not obstruct, but make it difficult for us to do the investigations that we've been talking about for so long here, and that we need to get to the bottom of the stuff with the FBI. But you're right. In the world of Adam Schiff, Maxine Waters, Elijah Cummings, and Jerry Nadler, they're going to go after the president. And the president's response this morning in his tweet, and frankly, the attitude that he I think was with the reporters at his press conference, that's what Americans love about this president, his willingness to stand up and fight and defend the things that matter. So we're going to have to fight hard to try to get to the bottom of this FBI and what they did there in the next few months. And then when they come with these investigations, it will be a fight, because we got to be for advocating and getting the truth out they're just going to come after the first family nonstop, and anyone associated with the president, anyone in his cabinet. They've been clear about that, and I don't think they will deviate from that, because I think that they can't help themselves. I don't think Maxine Waters can help herself. She's going to do what she said. After all, she said impeachment, I think, 8 times in one sentence, and she's the one who stood up and said, anyone who supports the president, you should get in their face at the restaurant, at the gas station, harass them wherever they're at. So I don't think they can help themselves, and we got to be ready for that.
All right, so you have announced your bid for the House Minority Leader. I guess you're going to be challenging Kevin McCarthy. Is Steve Scalise still in this battle, or he hasn't stated it yet?
I don't think he stated public what he's doing. He hasn't stated that public. But, yeah, I'm going to run. Look, in 2016, the American people elected President Trump to come here and shake this town up. And he is doing just that. And they expect the same intensity from the Republican members of the House of Representatives. And while we've been successful in doing some good things, like cutting people's taxes and reducing regulations, we haven't shown the intensity that the president, we haven't matched that intensity to get done what we said we would do. Have we replaced Obamacare yet? Have we reformed our welfare system yet? Have we secured the border yet? We haven't done those key things. And it's going to take, I think, an aggressive approach, particularly in an environment where Nancy Pelosi is leading the House and you have Schiff, Waters coming to them or chairing these respective committees. It's going to take an intensity. We're going to have to step it up if we're going to persuade the American people and win back their trust so we can take this majority back in 2020.
It's an amazing thing. You know, a lot of times as coalitions put together, I do think the Republicans lost their way. You know, when the Republicans, you know, after the Obama years, Donald Trump becomes president, and so many Republicans were afraid of Trump's pacing, and maybe they didn't like his style. I don't know, but for 6 years they were voting over and over again, 60 times to repeal and replace Obamacare. Then we learned pretty quickly on that a lot of those guys didn't have the stomach to actually stand by the promises they made to their constituents. Now, many of them so didn't have their stomach that 44 of them resigned. So I'm hoping that the new people that have been winning and are coming in will have the passion to actually fight the good fight and battle the way they need to battle. Now, secondly, it doesn't matter what Nancy Pelosi passes. They can send any bill they want over to the Senate, and it could be changed, it could be altered, but if they're not going to work with the Senate and work with the president, it's dead on arrival, every single one of them.
Yep. Yeah, you're exactly right, and the president has a veto pen if something does get to him that is not consistent with what the American people elected us to do. I do think some of the new members coming in are going to. We helped a number of them with the House Freedom Caucus. We were involved in all kinds of races, and people like Chip Roy, Yvette Harrell, Denver Riggleman, Ben Klein. We're some good members. Russ Fulcher from Idaho. Some good members coming in who I think are committed to fighting the good fight, and that's again exactly what we're going to need in the environment where it's Pelosi as Speaker and these other individuals.
Well, one loss of the Freedom Conference really bothered me, and that was Dave Bratt, and he lost by less than half a point. All right, got to take a quick break. We'll come back more with Jim Jordan of Ohio. All right, as we continue with Jim Jordan of Ohio, he'd like to be the House Minority Leader now. Is it true that, because that was Eric Cantor's old seat, is it true that Cantor was working against him?
I don't know. I hope not. I hope not. But Dave had everything thrown at him, tens of millions of dollars. He ran a great campaign and just came up a few votes short. We had another great Freedom Caucus member up in Pennsylvania, Scott Perry, who had a tough what they just.
Yeah, we had him on. Perry's problem is they redistrict 5 seats.
Oh golly!
I mean, what they did in Pennsylvania, frankly, was almost like stealing 5 seats.
Yep.
It really was despicable when the courts got involved. You know, that's part of the reason some of the big gubernatorial races matter a lot. Ohio, where you live, matters a lot now. Iowa, New Hampshire, they matter a lot. Those are big gubernatorial wins. Georgia, another. Florida, another. Those were huge wins in terms of redistricting. And when we get the census, et cetera, going into 2020, it's going to be amazing.
Yep, sure is. And it's again, we're back to where we started, Sean. The president coming into Florida and helping Ron DeSantis is huge. The president coming to Ohio and helping our entire team, Mike DeWine is now governor there, that is huge. It's that he made such an impact in so many races. Unfortunately, like you said, he couldn't get everywhere. And look, I also think some people ran local races. I had a colleague tell me this the other day, and I think he's right. He said all politics is national now, and it's the truth. Some people didn't embrace the agenda of the president, didn't run with the president, tried to distance themselves. And I understand maybe there's some unique circumstance, but in most cases we should have been running with the president and not running local races. But
listen, I talked about, I'll say it now the day after this election, the 2020 election needs to be nationalized by the Republican Party. I've been suggesting it now year in and year out. I've actually taken the time and I've written out what the agenda should be. And you know what? Well, I don't know. There's this mysterious reluctance and resistance to just put on paper, sign your name, make a pledge, and then follow through on your promises, because when you do that, it's good politics. You know, the reason that Barack Obama lost 69 House and Senate seats combined and 60 in the case of Bill Clinton is because they didn't do what they said they were going to do. They did the opposite. Yep. And they paid a price. But I got to let you run. Jim Jordan running for minority leader, and I support him in his effort. I think he'd be great in that position. And I assume there's going to be some type of coalition that'll be put together in the weeks ahead. We'll watch it closely. Thank you.
Okay, he sounds really thrilled there, doesn't he? That's not the soundbite I wanted, however. I want the soundbite when he was talking about his call to the president. We got to think, guys. Think. 5 steps ahead here. He calls the president last week, and clearly, Raymond, he leaked it, right?
Yeah, look,
he leaked
Paul
it,
Ryan
right? He leaked it. He leaked that call. He leaked the call to the president. He said he called the president and told him, back off immigration.
Right.
The immigration message is killing us. The immigration message saved you. Saved the Senate for this country. It is disgusting that we had a Speaker of the House who was not lined up with the president's agenda from top to bottom. And he announces his retirement in the summer. He should have hightailed it out of Washington and given that job to someone who was going to run with the agenda. Instead, you always get the sense that Paul Ryan was like, I'm uncomfortable with Trump. I'm uncomfortable. We Wisconsin. Oh, really? Because Wisconsin's losing without the full-throated support for Donald Trump. So you lost the governorship of Wisconsin, and we lost seats we didn't have to lose because we didn't have a strong speaker. I'm sorry.
Laura, they should have done, and we advocated for this when Paul Ryan announced his retirement, they should have found a new speaker immediately and allowed him to lead the charge, write a new contract with America, and have a House agenda. They might have been able to hold a few more seats and the majority.
How many people showed up at Paul Ryan's rallies? What, did he go to like the Pizza Hut or whatever? Where did he go? That pizza barn in Iowa?
The Fall Festival.
The Fall Fest. You just can't have a Speaker of the House in a tough race like this who is not beating the drum on the issue that people cared about most, which was immigration first. That was the biggest threat to our demographic. It was the issue of immigration that I think motivated a lot of these red staters to turn out. Okay, a lot of them. By the way, John Tester, we don't know. It's very close. But John Tester could lose his Senate seat in Montana. That's very close. It's 48.8 to 48.3%. So that's a tough one. But Tester could lose. That's all Trump. All Donald Trump. How many times did he go to Montana? Donnie Trump was in Montana 3 times. Eric Trump was in Montana. The Trumps are carrying this party on its back now. And I would say to the Republicans out there are a lot of never-Trumpers who were on television last night. A lot of never-Trumpers. A lot of people are like, oh, well, yeah, I guess. Donald Trump, without him, it would have been a 60-seat wipeout in the House of Representatives. They would have lost 50, 60 seats.
The issue I think that we're going to see play out over the night is the degree to which Donald Trump and Air Force One and the dramatic arrivals in all of these states for these mega rallies where he incited all manner of racial animus. In fact, does it turn out to be a pestilence arriving? Was it a plague of locusts for these Republican candidates?
What an idiot.
I can't even follow that.
What time of night did he say that? What an idiot. That is just the most idiotic thing I've ever heard. That is really stupid. I think the biggest heartbreaker for me might be the Connecticut governor's race, which I was asking about all night and no one ever wanted to cover it. Stefanowski was projected to win last night. Now it looks like Ned Lamont, that nightmare, is going to win, who's a failed Senate candidate. So Ned Lamont's going to win in Connecticut. I have no words for you. The state is in a complete free fall, and you're reelecting Democrats. This makes no sense. I guess they're calling that for Lamont now. I've seen that called for him. Last night it was for Stefanowski. So,
Laura, there's breaking news. Abrams is not conceding the Georgia governor's race.
She's like Hillary.
She's predicting a runoff.
She's like Hillary.
John Podesta will be out in a moment.
Yeah, John Podesta's like, we're not calling this tonight. All right, we're going to take a break. 855-40-LAURA. Who are the biggest losers of last night? The biggest losers. We're talking individuals and, I guess, groups, too. Pat Buchanan is going to join us. Pat Buchanan turned 80 years old on November 2nd. He has more wisdom than all these pundits on television combined. We're going to talk to Buchanan. Raymond Arroyo is with us. Who are the biggest losers and who is the biggest winner of the night? 855-40-LAURA. Oh, yeah. So, again, it's the dumb yahoo farmers and the small towns of America, the ones who haven't been transformed by mass migration or immigration. So it's basically the code is it's the white people. Really, that's the code. The white people won.
Well, it's working class America.
Right. White
the backbone of the country.
Yeah, white people. That's what they're really saying. It's more white oppression, more. I mean, they can stay with that message. I actually hope they do because it's such a loser message. And all they're left with now on all these other networks, this is what they're left with. Women smashed barriers in history-making election night. So you know it's bad when that's all they're focusing on is gender of the candidates who won. But Donald Trump, I'm telling you, the biggest winner of last night was Donald Trump and the Trump agenda. The biggest winner. And it doesn't mean it's not going to be very difficult for the president to get anything done in the House, and he's not going to deal with all these nightmare subpoenas. And yeah, he will. But I actually think that will turn out to be really good for the Republicans going forward. I'll tell you who ends up being kind of a loser, well, two losers in the Senate who are Republicans. Raymond, can you guess who I'm thinking about? Two losers in the Senate. No, they actually are senators, but they lost last night. They're senators, but they didn't lose their seat, but they've lost power in the Senate. Which senators am I talking about? Collins and Murkowski. Oh, yeah, because no longer are they going to be able to hold up nominees and stamp their feet and forget about it. And I know Collins was great and Kavanaugh in the end. And I was not hesitant at all about giving credit where credit was due. Democrats managed to scare some people on the health care issue, no doubt about it. And we had some kind of average candidates in some races. But Trump pulled out these victories, and some of them by the skin of his teeth, but he pulled out these victories in the Senate. No doubt about it. Joining us now is a man who knows a little bit something about this. Patrick Buchanan, of course, advisor to several presidents, conservative commentator, columnist, author. And happy late birthday, Pat.
No, thanks.
We're all getting up there, my friend. Don't worry. You have more knowledge.
57 years old is tough.
You have more knowledge and wisdom in your pinky finger than everybody on TV combined last night. Okay, so you're good. Let's talk about what happened last night, specifically Trump's decision to really run hard on the issue of immigration. It was questioned and it was reviled, and you hear old Joe Scarborough still calling everybody racist. What's your view on this?
I think immigration is the most powerful issue that Donald Trump had in the election of 2016. I think it's the most powerful long-term issue the Republicans have. I think the country is, not only in America but in Europe. And I think he went with his lead card, and I think he did the right thing. And I think, look, the interesting thing about last night is the liberals were waiting for these big victories of Stacey Abrams and then the Gillum down there in Florida, and then Beto was going to come to D.C. And during the night, I was watching TV, and somebody said, look, we're going to get Trump's tax returns. Now, this is the party that when I came into politics